Welcome back, guys. Favorite trainer Kathy from Kathy Fitness. We have your favorite chiropractor, Dr. Brenda Yee from Nurture Family Chiropractic. So last time we finished off with upper cross syndrome, so we are bringing it down to lower cross syndrome. So basically, what is lower cross syndrome? It's a combination of muscular imbalances that's going to create an unfavorable position in your lower half of the body, which can also affect your upper half too. And we have this lovely diagram which is going to help us explain. So Dr. Yu drew it. My drawing skills are terrible, which I'll get out of the way before we get into it. So if you look here, we have tight and tight. So this is going to be your tight lower back muscles. Then this is going to be your tight hip flexors. So an example would be your psoas. And then on the other side, we have weak glutes and then weak abdominal muscles. So what this is going to do, if you think of your hips as a water bucket, this is going to force the water to spill at the front, and I'm going to give you an exaggerated demo here. So if my hips are the water bucket, and just for demonstration, it's going to be very exaggerated. When my butt comes out, and you can see the water will pour out the front of my hips. So I'm going to let Dr. Yee take over, and she's going to kind of talk about what this means and what can happen as a result.
Yeah, so with lower cross syndrome, if your tight hip flexors are pulling your pelvis forward and your tight low back muscles are further accentuating that anterior pelvic tilt, that can actually cause some increased joint irritation in the low back musculature or low back joints, and that can manifest itself as low back pain. It can also create some muscle knots in the superior or top aspect of your glutes. Because the glutes are constantly trying to pull against the low back muscles. So over time, you can get some irritation in that muscles. With this, you also get some increased hip pinching, and it can be pretty uncomfortable if you're in a prolonged sitting position or if you're doing any kinds of activities where your chest comes towards your knees or your knees come toward your chest, because the tight musculature here really is going to irritate that kind of joint motion.
And so building on that, like let's say, what's a very common exercise you do in the gym? A squat. So if you have the problem where your chest kind of pulls where you get pulled forward while you're squatting, so your chest kind of comes a bit forward more than it should, and you're wondering why that happens, that can actually be a result of lower cross syndrome. So we're going to talk about some stretches and exercise that can help kind of fix that if you are having any of these symptoms or issues. So let's get into that. Diving right in with the Captain Morgan pose, aka the hip flexor stretch. So this is going to be something that can open up your hips. So we've done this, we've actually gone into more detail in another video, which I'll link in the description. But here is the runner stretch, which is a good way to open up your hip flexors. And then if you want to get even deeper, what you can do is bring your hand on the inside of your leg and then draw your hips closer to the floor, like so. So next we're going to get into the plank.
Yes.
So the plank is going to, you can take it up.
So the plank is going to help increase core strengthening. Specifically here where, even though the core is really around your entire body, we're going to use this exercise for the front of your body with your abs. So here you can see Kafli is in a really nice plank position, and what this is going to do, he's engaging his abdominal muscles, and that's going to help his spine stay in this nice neutral position, but it's also going to give his core a really, really good workout. So some modifications we could do would be to make this more difficult. Calf can lift one of his legs off the ground. Very good. And then he can switch. Good. And this is for, if you want a little bit more of a challenge. Great. And drop this leg. And we're actually going to go straight into a glute bridge now to work out the weak glute muscles.
Slide onto my back. So there's a few different glute bridge variations we'll go, so Dr. Yee will walk you through them.
So with this glute bridge, a basic one would be having both legs or both feet flat on the ground, and Calf is going to engage his glutes, and he's going to actually push his pelvis towards the ceiling here. So pushing up like this, you can see he's making a nice straight line with his body. And in order to be in this position, the glutes have to be engaged to hold this. To make it more difficult, we can actually come back down, and then instead of lifting with both feet on the ground, we're going to only have one foot on the ground. So pick your favorite leg, and we're going to keep that one there. Good.
I'll do this one.
We'll do that one. Great. So keeping only one foot on the ground, we're going to have calf lift up again into that glute position. And this is really going to focus on just one glute. And because there's now more body weight into this leg, it's going to make it much more difficult. And then you can switch back and forth between the legs here. And then our last exercise for your low back is going to be what we call...
One more glute one.
Oh, one more glute one. Okay.
So this one's just going to be, it's another variation where you're just going to work on the control of your glutes while you're going through the motion. So what you can do, actually I'll switch so you can see. So you want to drop it to the side and then just rotate back up to the starting position. So it's a rotation.
And guys, this is actually much harder than it looks. Cap is very fit, so he's able to do this without showing much difficulty, but it's actually very hard. So now we're going to go into the low back one. So this one is going to be a nice low back stretch because we're really trying to stretch out some of those tight muscles in our low back. This is called Cat Camel. So in order to be here, actually Cat, why don't you demonstrate it?
All right. So, I'm not pretty good at this.
No problem. So we have our shoulders in a nice 90-degree angle. We have our hips in a nice 90-degree angle. Cap is going to, so I'm going to place my fingers on his spine here, and he's going to try to arch his back towards the ceiling, trying to spread my fingers, other way.
No.
Yeah.
Got ahead of myself and did the other part first.
So spreading my fingers apart like that. In order to create this nice arch shape, every joint in your back actually has to move for this. And when every joint is moving, any muscles that are attached to those joints are also going to stretch as well. So particularly here, we've got our low back musculature stretching. And if I do the opposite now, Cat, drop your spine towards the ground. Good. You can see my fingers came closer together, and now we're making that opposite shape and working the muscles through their full range of motion through arching up and then arching down. So we'll do it one more time. Spread my fingers apart using your back. Very good. And now drive down towards the ground, bringing my fingers closer together. Very good. So this is a really good exercise for working on lumbar flexibility, or maybe not so much flexibility, but lengthening those muscles so that they can get a little bit of a stretch in them. So yeah.
So there you go. That's a little bit on lower cross syndrome. I hope you enjoyed this video. For more workout videos, training tips, subscribe if you haven't already. Let us know if there's anything you want us to cover in the description below. We will catch you next time.